Okay, so now that we have some data validation rules applied in our spreadsheet, now we can add custom alerts and messages to our data validation to help guide users to know what values that these cells can contain. For example, let's change the date in the date column. And let's say that we put in a date that doesn't fit our data validation rules. We get an error message. But this error message is not very specific, and the user might be confused why they can't put this date value in this cell. But we can add custom alerts to notify the user what these cells can contain. So let's cancel out of this and make sure that we have our cell selected, come up to the Data tab, and select Data Validation. Now in the previous video, we worked underneath the Settings tab, but we also have these other two tabs to add custom messages and alerts. So let's start with the Input Message tab. What the input message does is that once a user clicks a cell that contains a data validation rule, a little message box will pop up. And inside this message box, we can give a brief description of what these cells can contain, or provide any guidance that can help the user. For example, we know that in our date column that this cell can only contain a date value. So maybe in this message box, we can tell the user what kind of format we want the date to be in. We can give our message box a title, and I'm just going to put date. And then for our input message, maybe we can say, please enter date in mm/dd/YYYY format. And if we click OK, and if the user selects this cell, it shows our message box. Please enter date in this format. And if we click a different cell, that message box will go away. And if we click it again, it will pop back up. So that's how we can put input messages for our data validation rules. So this input message tells us what format to put the date in. But if we still put in a date that's not within our range, we will still get that same error message. But we can change that error message to be more descriptive. So let's come back up to the data validation button, select the error alert tab, and then from here, we can put an error message. So for the title, I'm just going to put date again. And for the error message, we can say, please enter a date between January 1st, 2020 dash December 31st, 2021. And if we click OK, so now if we enter a date outside of that range, so let's say we put August 7th of 2018, now our error message shows the title, which is date, and then our message, please enter a date between January 1st of 2020 and December 31st of 2021. So this is a lot more descriptive than just Excel saying that your value does not fit the data validation rules. Let's do another one for the zip code. So we can cancel out of this, then click our cell in the zip code column, come up to the data validation button, and for the title, we could put zip code. And for the error message, we can say, please enter a 5-digit zip code. And if we click OK, and if we try to enter a 9-digit zip code with the dash followed by 4 other digits and click enter, Excel says, please enter a 5-digit zip code. And we can click retry and only enter the 5 digits. So pretty simple to do, but very helpful. Now instead of adding an error message, we can add a warning message. So let me show you the differences between the two. If we click the cell in our age column, come back up to data validation, and currently for this error alert, our style is stop, meaning that we can only retry to get the correct value within the cell or cancel. But if we click this drop down and select warning, now the user has an option to override the data validation rule. For example, let's put a title here. I'm just going to put age. And for the error message, we can put age should be greater than or equal to 18. And if we click OK, now if we come back up to our cell and change the age to 16, now instead of the red X, we get the yellow warning sign. And it says that age should be greater than or equal to 18. And then it also asks us if we wish to continue. And if we select yes, we will override the data validation rule and put 16 in this cell. So if we click yes, now 16 is in that cell, even though our rule states that it should be greater than or equal to 18, but instead of having a stop message in place, we have a warning message. And with the warning message, the user can't continue to put any value within this cell. So that's how you add custom messages and alerts with Excel data validation. And it can really help guide users to know what these cells can or cannot contain.